Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here. We have another Washington Commanders weekly stream. This week, it's a bye week, but we got two special guests on the channel. Juan Gotti from Juan Gotti Talking Sports and fellow Hokie, Abdullah from DMV Sports Zone. Of course, like always, make sure you guys check out both of the channels. If you guys are watching this on replay, links will be in the description. And if you guys are watching right now live, just look up their names on YouTube, and you guys will find them great YouTubers. And appreciate you guys for coming through. What's up, Abdullah? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Raheem Blackshear just scored, and Panthers are also winning, so it's a WW for today. And Commanders moved up in the seeding, so overall, a great bye week.
How about you, Juan?
I'm doing good, man. I appreciate you for having me on as always. And yeah, I mean, it feels great. We came in as the 8th seed and moved up as the 6th seed. So it was a great bye week. I mean, W bye week, right? So like it was good. And honestly, as happy as I was, it kind of pissed me off that we tied with the Giants even more, because it's like, bro, they're bad. It's obvious. And I know we're not Philly. And I wasn't the biggest Jalen Hurts fan. Now, I will say this about Jalen Hurts. I was one of the few ones saying, I wasn't saying that he couldn't pass like everybody else. I was saying we got to wait and see what he's going to do this year before I can determine that he's not a good passer. We obviously already knew he was an elite runner. Last week's game with the Washington Commanders and this week's game with the Eagles and Giants, the biggest separation is clear. It's quarterback. They got Jalen Hurts. We got Taylor Heineke. Okay, so as much as I love Taylor Heineke, we should have beat the Giants. And I said this in my video last week. I was like, as much as we want to control the clock and run the ball, this secondary is so weak on the Giants that we need to air it out. And we didn't do that as much as we should have. As look what the Eagles did. They aired it out and put up 40 points. So as good as it was to move up 2 spots, it pissed me off even more that we tied with them last week. But I'm doing good.
Yes. Yes, sir. And shout out to some people in the chat. Joshua, my guy, or Josh from Hokie. He's a fellow Hokie as well. And then other guy, Josh, Northern Virginia friend there. And then what's up, Stinkies? Steven and Ekam Bajwa. And I'm going to try this week, and Juan knows, to not get got this week by the troll in the chat. We'll see. We'll see if I'm able to do it. But Rio got by him, and then I've gotten multiple times. So hopefully today I can just stay strong and not get trolled by him. But let's go ahead and get started. And I mean, like you said, Juan, good week for the Commanders, even though it was a bye week for us and we didn't play. As long as the Panthers pull this one out. How much time's left in that game? It's pretty much done, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. I think you're muted, Juan.
Mm-hmm.
I say, yeah, it's pretty much over. I have it on in the background, and they're up. I think they're up 30-17 if they didn't miss the field goal or not. But yeah, that game's done, and the Washington Commanders are in the 6th seed. So.
Man,
hey, that's great. And now basically, the rest of the way, we got to root for it doesn't matter with the 49ers because they got 9 wins, so they're in. So when the 49ers and Seahawks are playing, we got to root for the 49ers, and that will help us out a ton. If the 49ers beat the Seahawks, I think the Seahawks also play. They have a somewhat tough schedule. I'm going to look it up right now. But
they play the 49ers on Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. They play the 49ers, and I'm trying to see the rest of their schedule. They play the Chiefs on Saturday, the week after that. So that could be back-to-back L's for them. And then they play the Jets, which is another tough game. Like, I could see them losing all 3 of those games. And then they play the Rams last week of the season. So I think they'll win 1 of those 4. Could they win more? Of course. And who knows? Maybe if Baker's looking good, maybe the Rams beat them week 18. So good week for the Commanders. Giants also lost, which was expected. But, you never know in the NFL, so it's good to get that result out of the way. Because, if we beat the Giants, there's going to be, 3 games left in the season. And they play the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Colts, I believe. And they're going to have to win 2 out of those 3. So that's going to be very tough for them to do. So if we can beat it all comes down to this week. If we don't win this week, it's a very, very low chance of us making the playoffs. I mean, it's very low. If we don't win this week, probably gonna have to win, the last 3 games of the season to make it in, for sure. So maybe we could get in with 9, but the Giants game is super, super important. Your guys' thoughts will start with Abdullah.
Well, I mean, you said it. It's win or nothing. I mean, win or go home. And I know we still may have a chance, a slim chance, even after if we lose. But I mean, the Eagles just destroyed the Giants. They're coming off a terrible week, and hopefully we get Benson Juice back. Chase Young, we're at home. Jonathan Allen telling fans to come. Sunday night football, prime time. You got to get the win. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and I piggyback right off of that. But before we even get into that, to talk about what Pedro was talking about with the schedule and the opponents. I mean, we the Giants lost. Houston should have beat the Lions. I mean, beat the Cowboys. What do we expect though? I mean, they were on the 1. They should have sneaked it. If they get that touchdown, the game's over. But 1-win team. What do we expect from them? And not to mention, guys, I mean, I understand this young quarterback, Brock Purdy, is playing well, but they just lost their best player for probably the rest of the year in Deebo Samuel. He got carted off. So as good as the 49ers are, we have them down the stretch, okay? And if things possibly could stay how they will in the postseason, we have 2 opportunities to play them. We play them in the regular season and maybe in the playoffs too. So not to get too ahead of ourselves, but just looking at around us, the biggest threat right now is probably, like you guys said, is the Lions, maybe because they already beat us and the Giants, even though they're behind us. That's probably the biggest threat remaining. Well, besides the Giants, obviously, that we have to play. But looking otherwise, that's probably the only other threat. But back to this game, like you said, this is the biggest game of the year. It's win pretty much, or pretty much win or go home if we look at it like that. Because I mean, I looked on the website that you did do last week, when you had the playoff odds, Pedro, and it was like 90% chance Washington gets in the playoffs with a win, and like a 30-something% chance that we get to the playoffs if we do lose to the Giants. So it is definitely a huge game, and we definitely have to find a way to pull it off.
Yeah, for sure. And that site, I really like it because you're basically able to go through each game in the NFL and just predict it, or not even predict it, but just go through the different scenarios and see what your team has to do to get in the playoffs. And basically for the Commanders, if they beat the Giants and lose out, I looked at it and they probably have like a 55% chance of getting in, which is crazy. That's how important this Giants game is. If let's say they lose to the Giants and then they only win 1 more game and they finish 8-7-1, they're not making the playoffs. But beating the Giants is definitely important. We're going to talk about Lamar. I forgot to change the thumbnail from yesterday's video, but we're going to talk about some potential quarterback of the future options for the Commanders later on in the stream. But this game is huge. You win it, you're in a very, very good position going over the last 3 games. Basically, hey, if you win any of those last 3, you're guaranteed in. And even if you don't, you still have a chance. But I don't want to be in the playoffs. I mean, I still want to be in the playoffs regardless. But being in the playoffs at 8-1, I don't know. I'd rather have a winning record. You know what I mean? So, is that technically a winning record? 8-1, or what is it? I think it is technically.
I think so.
If anyone knows in the chat, go ahead.
I'm pretty sure
because even then, I want to get to 9. What?
Yeah, I think with 8-8 it's 500, but then that 1 is like maybe half of 500. So I think it is, but I don't know. I'm not really.
Yeah, I think it is, but I'm not 100%. And I put the links for Juan and for DMV Sports Zone in the chat, or I put DMV Sports Zone. Now I'm about to put Juan's in. So make sure, of course, you guys sub up to both of them. Great Commanders, and actually both of them now are doing content for DC Sports and just sports in general. So make sure you guys check them out. Again, great YouTubers, and yeah, make sure you guys check them out. Juan's link just got in there as well. So let's move on to kind of injury updates. I mean, nothing really has changed from last week to this week, just because of it's been the bye week. But Cole Holcomb out for the year. It is tough. I feel like the last couple weeks, our run game, or our run defense hasn't been as good, and it's kind of showing without Cole Holcomb. But before we were, without Holcomb, we were still playing well in defense. But I think, him being out is a blow. And especially when your backup is John Bostic or David Mayo. And, you could have had someone like A.J. Klein who would have been able to fill in just fine. But, it is what it is. They didn't want to do that. But the depth at the linebacker is concerning. Dax Milne, his status is still up in the air. And the Benjamin St. Juste, I think he should be able to play because it'll be on next Sunday, will be 4 weeks after the injury occurred. And they said it's like a mid to high ankle sprain, but closer to a mid. And usually that does not take, 4 weeks, I believe, to, recover from. And I think, having Benjamin St. Juste back is huge. I mean, I didn't think the Giants were going to cook us up with, whatever Hodgins, but
Isaiah
Christian
Hodgins,
Holmes
yeah.
got cooked, absolutely cooked. So what do you guys think? Like, what is Benjamin St. Juste going to bring back to this team?
I think it just not getting burned by a Giants receiver, especially like off the start of coming next week. I mean, Christian Holmes, special teams guy, a rookie, and he just brings that threat. And ever since that game against Justin Jefferson, I have been so confident in this man. So with him coming back, it will be huge. Huge. I mean, the Giants literally have no threats at receiver. We saw that today. They were just running the ball so much. And when we stop the run, hopefully we get better at that come this week against Saquon Barkley and that offensive line, then it'll be hard for them to pass the ball. So Ben St. Juste coming back is going to be huge.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We need him. I mean, last week you seen it multiple times with Christian Holmes, who is, God bless his heart. He's trying his hardest, but I mean, countless times he was getting burnt. And if you're like, man, that's why we need Benjamin St. Juste. So I definitely miss him, and I hope we can get him back after this bye week. And again, I talk about it each and every week. I'm pretty much done with it, but this is either the week that you play Chase Young or just don't play him at all. I mean, it's no point to continue to hold him out. At first you were talking about playing him through the bye, before the bye. You gave him an extra week after the bye. If he comes up Sunday night and he's not playing, I'm done with it completely. Like, I'm never going to speak on it for as far as this year anymore, because it's like, if it is so-called mental hurdles, because you guys said, I mean, not you guys, but the media is saying the biggest reason why Chase Young has had a setback is not due to the knee; it's his mental hurdles, which you totally understand. Totally expect. The guy hasn't played football in a year, right? But how do you overcome mental hurdles? You don't do that through practice. You don't do that through hitting dummies. As scared as he may be to go back out there to re-injure the knee, you're gonna only be able to get over that fear by doing what is fearing you, right? That's like when you first learn how to drive a car, right? You're scared to go out there on the road with all the other cars, but how are you gonna only get more comfortable and better? You're going out there on the road driving. Same with Chase Young. The only way he's gonna be able to get over the mental hurdles is if he goes out there and plays. So if he's not playing this week, I'm done with talking about him playing at all this year. This has to be the week Chase Young plays. Getting Sam Cosmi back, because I think he got hurt in that Giants game too, will be huge. Trey Turner, another piece. And really another thing I do want to talk about too, as far as that, the line is hopefully this week, like Nick Martin can be like, he probably was working, during the bye week, because that Tyler Larsen, injury is huge. Like, we already was out Chase Rudy, and Tyler Larsen is such a really good backup. Like, I feel like his role is underappreciated in a way, because obviously we have Chase Roulier, but he is so good, man, as a backup, and he could possibly be a starter elsewhere. So his absence now is going to be, crucial, and hopefully Nick Martin could step right in, and be good. Or maybe even Wes Schweitzer. We haven't seen Wes Schweitzer since like week 4, because he was dealing with a concussion. Montez Sweat, another guy that had a concussion. Hopefully he was okay. So we got a lot of pieces that we're banged up, but hopefully this bye week did them justice, and we can prepare for the Giants come Wednesday.
Yeah, for real. Let's see. Let's add some people in the chat. What's up, SP, Antonio, Shadow, Kevin? Appreciate that. AJ, CJ, Lucky. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's get into. So yeah, I actually want to talk about Chase Young, Juan, because you brought up a good point, and I feel like you and me have been on the same page on this injury. Like, it's been, and I don't know how you feel about this, Abdullah, but like, it feels like for the last 4 or 5 weeks, it's like every week, in the beginning of the week, there's optimism Chase Young's going to play. And then by the time we get to Friday, Saturday, it's like, oh, Chase Young's not ready yet, but he's going to make his debut next week. And then the whole cycle starts over again, and then again, and then again. I don't know. It's ridiculous to me because, okay, first off, the reporters are putting out that he's not the beat reporters. I'm talking about Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport. Every week they're putting out that he's going to make his debut, and he doesn't. Someone's feeding them that information, whether it's Chase Young and his agent because he wants to play, or if it's the team because they're like, okay, this guy's ready, but he's not playing. It's one of those two. And then also, like, you can't say the team, like, something's up because they could have waited to activate him off the PUP list. But they did it, 8 weeks ago? And you got 21-day window to come back. And after the 21 days, he wasn't ready to play, and they put him on the active roster. But he's just the last 2 weeks. Yeah, last 2 weeks has been when he's been activated. He hasn't played, so he's wasting a roster spot. And they just mismanaged the situation. So it's kind of both, like the team setting him up, his expectations too high in terms of when he's coming back, and the reporters. And I totally agree with you, Juan, that the only way he's going to get if the issue is his confidence or stuff like that, I'm sorry, but it's going to marginally get better with practice, doing it in practice. But in a game, that's where he's truly going to learn. So I don't know. I just think that you got to play him. And if you don't play him this week, I don't know why you would play him 3 games the rest of the season. I would just play him this week, and then the next week you can increase the snaps a little bit more, and then the week after that, and maybe by the end of the year, once you get in the playoffs, he's fully ready to go. Your thoughts, Abdul?
I mean, you guys said it. It's completely frustrating. And today, Jameson Williams, who tore his ACL on January 10th this year, scored his first NFL touchdown. When you just add all that together and you see Micah Parsons balling out in Dallas, it's like, where's that guy? We have him, but is he healthy? I mean, something really happened in that Von Miller camp that I'm pretty sure isn't talked about enough. And you guys are spot on. If he's not playing this week, what is the point of playing him at all? We'd rather have him at 100% than 70, 80% risk him getting hurt again. Robert Griffin, he tweeted it. He said he doesn't want Washington to risk their young number 2 overall pick in an injury, rushing him back. And he knows a thing or two because he was that guy not too long ago. So again, it is completely frustrating. Chase Young, he is the franchise guy, but I'd rather wait for him to be healthy because we don't want to repeat history, because we know how this organization does when it comes to dealing with injuries, especially since they're star players.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I just think it's been, and I know it's a different injury than Jameson Williams, but because or they said Chase had the patellar tear as well, but I don't know. It's a year and a month now basically since the injury, and he's not back. So hopefully they can, he can come back this week and, doesn't have to play a ton of snaps, but, 10, 15 snaps. And then the next week after that, go to 25, 20, or, 20 to 25. And the week after that, get him close to fully ready to go. That's the ideal scenario right there for Chase Young. And I'm hoping that he plays this week, and because he will add something to this defense. I love, and I don't love him, but James Smith Williams and Casey Toole, they're solid. They're good role players, but Chase Young is much more of a threat and will command much more respect and, attention than those guys. So that's kind of why I just want him back. And you invested a 2nd overall pick in this guy. You need him to come back, see what he is. And also with the ACL injury, when the guys come back, it doesn't matter what position, they're usually not full. Even if they're fully healthy, it takes a while to get over the mental hurdle. Joe Burrow last year, it's totally different position. But the first half of the year, he was all right for the Bengals. Second half of the year in the playoffs, he went off. And that's with a lot of other players as well. So I just think that you giving him these last 3 to 4 games of reps will make him fully ready to go in 2023 versus if he's out for the rest of the year and his first games are in 2023, then it might take him 4 or 5 plus games to fully get ready. So I totally agree with both of you guys. And hopefully, not making any predictions because every single time I've made a prediction, I've been wrong. After the Houston Texans game, after that, I was like, until I see him on the field, I'm not thinking he's playing until I see him. So it is what it is with that situation. So let's talk about, and the Seahawks officially lost. So the Commanders are the 6th seed. That is great, great news. But it does not matter unless we can beat the Giants this week. That is like biggest game of the year. Last week was the biggest game of the year, but now this week's the biggest game of the year. Sunday Night Football. Daniel Jones is 0-9 in primetime game.
0-10 actually.
What?
0-10, I'm pretty sure.
0-10. We better not get him that first win. Like, we better not. You guys going to the game or not? Nah.
No, man.
I might be going. I really want to go badly. So I'm thinking about it, bro.
I was trying to get the tickets from Jonathan Allen that he was giving out, but I didn't win, unfortunately. But that would have been nice. But we'll see. I mean, I'm just hoping we win. I'm just hoping we win. And Fat Track says Giants is a must win. I agree. I mean, you win. You lose that game, and your chances of going to the playoffs plummet. Absolutely plummet. And if you win that game, like, you have a very, very good shot of making the playoffs. You just got to win one of those last 3, and you're guaranteed in. And even if you don't win one of those 3, you still have a shot. But, I don't want to be depending on other teams to win. So get to 9 wins. Don't, make us kind of suffer in that last game waiting for other results. Just get the 9 wins and be done with it. And, hey, I would love 10 wins. I would love 10 wins. Uptown Dre says, how long is Debo out? Looks really serious. I think they said, or Jordan Schultz reported that it doesn't look as bad as they're saying. So could be, maybe he's out for the Commanders game, but we'll see. What's up, King Sean? Appreciate you coming through. Saquon, or someone asked about Saquon. I mean, he didn't really play much today. He was limited, like Fat Track says. And maybe he won't, maybe he'll still be a little bit limited for next week's game against the Commanders. That would be good. And their tight end, Daniel Bellinger, he was out he got hurt in the Giants game with a rib injury. So he might be out for the game as well. Some people said, Uptown Dre says, I'll be there tailgating early. Let's go. Timmy D says, I'm section 134, row 10, seats 4 to 6. Yeah, if you guys got tickets, hey, make sure you guys go. The tickets are, I think it's like right now it's like $100 to go. So kind of expensive, but if you got in early, that's great. And I know before the season started, they had the deal where it's like you can get 2 tickets for $90, and that looks like a great deal right now. Any tickets or any game, you can get 2 tickets for $45. Silly Goose says Detroit is the team to watch. Easy schedule. Hold tiebreakers on New York Giants and Washington. Only thing is the tiebreakers won't really matter because that we have a tie. So we're never we have a tie on our record. So we're never going to be the same record as them. So the tiebreaker won't really matter. But I do agree. The Giants, not the Giants, the Lions, I'm a little worried about them. Hopefully, I think they play the Jets one more time. And then the rest of their schedule is pretty easy. They play the Bears, Packers. So hopefully the Packers can get a win on them. I'm really hoping for sure. So let's get into one of the topics that I wanted to talk about today, and that's the quarterback of the future. So I talked about this in yesterday's video, but if you had 3 different scenarios, okay, and you guys give me which scenario you like the best. Scenario 1, we're going to probably have new ownership, so it might be a little bit of a trial year. They don't really, the owners just want to see what they, have in a team. Maybe they, buy the team in March or, April, can't really make any changes. Maybe they just want to do option 1, which is, let's say, run it back with, Taylor Heineke and Sam Howell. That's option 1. Option 2 is you keep Howell, don't re-sign Taylor Heineke, and sign a free agent quarterback. So let's not go. We'll talk about the possibility of Lamar, but for this scenario, let's talk about like the Gardner Minshews of the world, Case Keenum. I'm trying to think of who else is. I literally did this video yesterday. Jimmy Garoppolo, I believe Baker Mayfield, guys like that. That's option 2. Or option 3, you keep Hal and Heineke and you draft a guy in the first 3 rounds. So maybe it's, I don't really like Will Levis, but maybe it's Will Levis. Maybe it's Hendon Hooker, one of those guys in the first couple rounds. So out of those 3 scenarios, which one do you guys like the most? We'll start with Juan and then we'll go to Abdullah.
What was the first one again? I think that may be the one I go with because I don't.
The first one is just run it back with Heineke and Hal.
Honestly, bro, I don't like any. I don't really have a special guy in this draft that I really want because I'm assuming that we're not going to be in position to get one of the top guys unless we trade up. That could possibly be a an option, but more likely than not, when are we a team to really trade up, especially under this regime? So I'm more likely than not don't think that's going to be the option there. And then no, I don't want Jimmy Garoppolo. I see you have Lamar in the thumbnail. I would love that. I would love that. I wouldn't hesitate to pay Lamar Jackson the money that he wants.
Yeah, real quick. The thing with Lamar is Lamar would be great, but that's like a whole different like scenario because he's not going to become a free agent. Worst case scenario for the Ravens is they franchise tag him and get him under contract for another year so that they can trade him to another team. So we're going to probably have to trade for Lamar if we do, but I still would not mind it at all. But I know some people don't really like Lamar, but I definitely wouldn't mind it. Continue on.
So Lamar Jackson, this is his last year of his contract, right? If I remember.
Yeah, but they can franchise tag him and gain control of him.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to sign it. He doesn't have to sign the franchise tag. He could easily just say, "Can he just say I want to go to free agency?" Because like you're not on the contract anymore, and he doesn't have to sign the franchise tag.
Well, I'm pretty sure if they franchise tag him, I don't know how it works officially, but like I think he just like they have control over him for another year, and he would just have to hold out in camp, but like no one could get him in free agency if they franchise tag him because like the deadline to sign your tag I think is in like July. So if a team tags you, you just can't go to free agencies. It's kind of annoying, but yeah, we wouldn't probably unless they just give up on him totally, we wouldn't be able to get him in free agency. I believe. I might be wrong.
Right. You're right. Now, I think you're actually right because then I think like if he doesn't sign the franchise tag, they may start fining him and stuff like that if he doesn't show up to practice and all of that because he wants to be traded or then he'll have to be traded. So honestly, guys, with the scenarios you've given me, I might go with running back with Taylor Heineke and Sam Howell. If Taylor Heineke leads us to the playoffs and he wins us a game, you have no choice you have a choice, but honestly, I think the smarter choice would be to run it back with Heineke. As limited as he is, we know that he is the guy that corrals this locker room and brings us as one. Anytime you have Taylor Heineke, you're never out of a game. He's gonna always fight. So yes, you could obviously be much better at the position skill-wise and talent-wise, but when you put yourself in a predicament where you're not going to draft, the best guy, and you don't want to go out and sign a Jimmy Garoppolo or anything like that, you might got to run it back with what you have on the roster. And I think they may have learned their lesson with getting guys like Carson Wentz again. So that may be more. They may be more leaning towards that option to bring back to Heineke because not only do they not want to make the same mistake with Carson Wentz again, but they now have seen Taylor Heineke 2 years in a row. And if he goes again, like I said, if he goes on to win us a playoff game or two, they may feel more comfortable with giving him the start or not next
year. Yeah. I was gonna say, like, if Taylor takes us to the playoffs and wins us a playoff game, I mean, when's the last time a QB in Washington has done that? So long ago. And the first thing you do is get rid of him. you can't do that. And going back to Lamar Jackson, a lot of fans in the comments, I'm personally not a big fan, but I really think a reason why Lamar has been limited so far, especially in the playoffs, was because he doesn't have that many weapons. Bring him in Washington. You got Jahan, Terry, Curtis. So again, also Anthony Richardson from Florida, started off great earlier in the college football season, but eventually declined. Maybe that was due to the Florida team being not so good, but he's a guy I would keep on day 2. But Sam, a guy that was the first overall pick a year ago, a projected first overall pick, and not a great year in UNC for his last year. So many things happened with losing his receivers. So I wouldn't mind running back with Sam Howell and Taylor Heineke, and you just don't want to repeat that mistake again where you go after guys like we've done Carson Wentz, Case Keenum in the past, Donovan McNabb. Go for washed up quarterbacks. We wanted to go after Russell Wilson last year. Look what we avoided. I mean, it's just so many things. We just can't keep making the same mistakes. And with Dan hopefully selling, not 100% yet, but hopefully, it's just a breath of fresh air would be good.
Yeah, for sure. And here's my thing, and I think you guys kind of agree. My least favorite option, and sorry, I'm lagging a little bit. My least favorite option is option number 2, where it's get a free agent quarterback, unless his name is Tom Brady or Lamar Jackson. And Tom Brady's not coming here, and Lamar, it's going to be hard. But I don't want, like, Gardner Minshew's solid, but it's like, the thing is, he might be a little bit better than Heineke, and I don't even know. But the thing is he better than Heineke coming onto the Commanders, having to learn a whole new system, chemistry with the teammates? Like, I really think that's been a big issue with Fitzpatrick and Wentz, was these guys, we have a complicated offense, and they had to learn that and play right away. And we heard, rumors about and reports like, okay, these guys still fully haven't learned the offense. And it's like, okay, if you keep doing that year after year, like, you're not learning your lesson. And I think, like, there's no free agent that I'm like, okay, I'd much rather have him than Heineke. Like, I'm fine paying Heineke, let's say like 8, maybe 10 mil a year, maybe a 1 year $10 million deal, or like a 1 mil, $5 million deal with like up to like 10, 11, 12 in incentives, something crazy like that. I would not mind that at all. And then also, like, maybe just out of the gate, you have Heineke as like, okay, he's probably going to be the starter, but you let Howell in there, get some first team reps, compete. And if Howell looks great, hey, that's great for you. Like, you get a year to see what Howell really is. And that's kind of the, like, if the Commanders won 9 games this year with, or let's say they win 9 games this year with Heineke, like, they could do the same thing again next year. And then, maybe you're able to get a quarterback the year after that. I don't know. That would be probably my number 1 option. I'm still not completely sure. But if you like any quarterback in this class and you can trade up for them, I also wouldn't mind doing that and having Heineke as the backup, or have Heineke as a starter and let that guy develop. Like Hendon Hooker, he might be out for the year, or might be out for a little bit to the start of the season, or like the off season. So you could let Heineke start there, but you have a backup in place, or you have a backup plan in place for the future. So that's kind of my thoughts. They're still searching for an answer. And I just think that getting a quarterback on the rookie deal is so important, because you look at the teams, like a lot of the teams with like the mid quarterbacks, they're not like the Raiders. Like Derek Carr, he's a little bit better than mid. He's a good quarterback, but they're not winning with him because he's getting paid $40+ million. If you get a quarterback that, let's say, is a 15 to 20 guy, in terms, not 15 to 20 mil, but like he's ranked between 15 and 20, but he's on a rookie deal. Like if the Commanders had that right now, think about it. A much better quarterback plus 25 extra $1 million to spend on other players, like that is huge. So, yeah, I think, and Wentz, I don't even think it's a discussion. Do not bring that guy back. Definitely not for $28 million. So, and with that, getting rid of Wentz likely, almost guaranteed, I think that opens up, some different scenarios for you in terms of free agency. So what are some guys that you would want to bring back for the Commanders? I think one obvious one is Daron Payne. And, there's some other guys as well. So I'll let you guys say that in a second. But real quick, got 110 people in here. I know one of you guys isn't subscribed to me. I'm really It's going to be close, but I'm trying to hit 10K by the end of the year. So please help me get there. And of course, make sure you guys sub up to Juan and DMV Sports Zone. Both links are in the description right now. Make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe. Great YouTubers. Make sure you guys check them out for sure. And one thing I wanted to say is if Heineke, I said this earlier, if Heineke wins a playoff game, I'm getting a Heineke jersey. Like, it's happening. I mean, the guy, we haven't won a playoff game in 17 years. I was 2 years old. Like, that's so pathetic. Like, that's actually so pathetic. 2 years old. Like, I might have been, if it was 2005 in January, I might have been like 1.5, whatever.
No, I was
like
2.
That's just pathetic. I think Juan was the same age, and Abdullah might have been like 1 year older. Like that's just, and we're still here. We're still here rooting for this team, making content for this team or about this team. So hopefully they can get that done, and I will get a Heineke jersey. Mark my word, I will get a Heineke jersey, and I'll wear it proud, even though he's not the best quarterback. He is, he's a great teammate, and he, like, when I was there at training camp, literally signed every single autograph. Like, you could tell, like, he's appreciative of his opportunity. And yeah, so that's just something I wanted to say right there. So I'm trying to think of, the question I asked about the free agents. So Abdul, you want to start about some free agents on the Commanders you would like them to re-sign this offseason, and maybe some you don't want to?
You might have to give me some names, because aside from Duran, and I think it's also is there anyone else? Because like
Cole Holcomb, got Ted.
Yeah, Cole Holcomb. Sorry, Juan. And there's guys also. Part of the question that I also want to talk about is guys you could extend. So Cam Curl is a guy you could extend. Montez Sweat as well. So guys like that on the, who would just finish their third year are eligible for extension as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, with Cam, it's obviously a no-brainer. Him and Derek Forrest, probably one of the best young safety duos in the league. With Duran, this man has been balling out, and it's crazy because after the whole incident last year, it was where he punched Jonathan Allen on national television. Everyone in the offseason, even training camp, OTAs were saying, this guy's going to get traded, and he has been balling out. The tip passes, the sacks, really nothing much else had playing at an elite level. Montez, again with Montez, it's like beginning of the year, he just doesn't do anything, and then he progressively gets better. I still want to see more from him, especially since we don't have Chase back. But I think I don't even know, Chase does come back these last few games, we'll definitely have him playing better. And Cole Holcomb, again, in a run defense, I think good, solid there, but pass defense-wise, it's just at most average, below average. It sucks, but he's solid, and we got him in the 5th round. He was a stud. Leading our team in tackles, and Jamin Davis has been playing better. So if it's a team-friendly deal, if it's not too much, I'm all for it. But overall, I'm happy, and if we lock these guys up, our defense could be top 3 for the next few years.
Yeah, so for me personally, I definitely think Deron Payne is the no-brainer there. Cole Holcomb, to me at least, I feel like he's another guy that's like pretty much a no-brainer because we need Cole Holcomb, and he's proven that he can be the middle linebacker for this team. So I definitely think you need to bring him back. I believe is Tyler Larson maybe another guy that is that could possibly be. I have it pulled up here. He is also a free agent.
I think Wes Schweitzer as well.
Yeah, Wes Schweitzer is a free agent too. I personally will bring him back, but if they don't bring him back, I understand because as of late he has been hurt a lot, but he's definitely a good rotational piece. Joey Sly's an unrestricted free agent, so I would bring him back, even though he he was kind of a big reason why we lost that game last week. Let's see who else. Wow, Khalid Hudson will be a free agent. It feels like we just drafted. Yeah, so I think looking at our list, those are the only guys. You got Jeremy Reeves, but that's going to be nothing to bring him back. That special teams guy, Cam Sims, another guy. But anytime I get hyped about bringing Cam Sims back, we never utilize him how I think we're going to utilize him. He's always just a special teams guy and makes one catch here and there. So out of all the unrestricted free agent guys that we have, I want us to re-sign. Let's see, probably like Taylor Heineke, obviously. So Wes Schweitzer, Deron Payne, Ted Heineke, Joey Slye, Tyler Larson. Those are 5 guys that I want us to resign, and it could definitely be possible if we do that. And as far as guys that I want us to extend at least this off season, I want us to extend Cam Curl, obviously. Tez, I like Tez, man, a lot. But he's definitely not top DN money worthy. Like, you have to find a specific deal that works both for Tez and Washington, because I mean he's really good, but he's not. Again, he's not a Nick Bosa, he's not a Joey Bosa, he's not a Khalil Mack, he's not a Micah Parsons. He's not none of these guys that are going to be making that are going to be making and or already making top end defensive money. So defensive end money. So you got to find a way to re-sign him back when it comes to a friendly deal for both sides. But that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah. So for me, I think Cole Holcomb, I would try to bring him. He's not. I wouldn't have him as a priority, but I would try to bring him back. Like if we can get him for a reasonable deal, bring him back because he's been solid for us for a while. He knows the system. He's got good chemistry. He's a team captain, so bring him back. If you can get him for a reasonable deal, it is what it is. Bring him back. If you can't, if he's asking for a lot of money, if another team offers him a ton of money, then you don't need to re-sign him. I would say Deron Payne. I think you got to try to re-sign him. Maybe even during this bye week, it would have been nice to do it. I don't think they did, but right after the season's over, you got 2-3 month head start on the other teams. Go ahead and do it. The man's a monster, and our D line has been carried by Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne this year. I mean, Montez Sweat's been good too, but to have like 7+ sacks by both of your interior defensive linemen, like that is crazy. We have the best D tackle duo in the NFL. Don't ruin that. And then next year, you add in Fedarian Mathis, who, I didn't like the pick, and I still don't like the pick. It doesn't take away from the player. Like the player might end up being great. I just still think there were other players on the board I'd rather have taken, and we probably could have taken a depth D tackle in the 3rd or 4th round. But it is what it is. But that D line next year, like the D line right now is crazy. But think about a healthy Chase Young. You had Montez Sweat in, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and you add Fedarian Mathis in as well. Like, give Jonathan Allen and Payne a few snaps rest. You bring in Fedarian Mathis, he balls out, and then you bring back John Allen and Payne, fresh. Like it's gonna be all, they're never. It's because now you have some plays where you do have Daniel Wise or whatever in, which it is what it is. But next year you'll barely have any plays where one of those 3 guys isn't there if you resign Payne. I would, like you guys both said, Cam Curl, got to bring him back. He's that guy. He's that guy. He's good. Didn't have a great week that last week, but that's like one of the only weeks I've seen him not have a good game. So I would try to bring him back. Cam Sims, it is what it is. If you can get him back for like a minimum deal, I'm fine. Same thing with like the rest of the guys, Jeremy Reeves, Wes Schweitzer. I think he's a great depth guard to have. I would try to bring him back. And then Montez, I don't know. I think he's going to command $20+ million a year. And I don't think he's right now. Like, he's good, guys. Don't get me wrong. But, like, our interior guys are getting as much sacks as our edge guy. And I don't know. The jury's still out on Sweat. I'm not opposed either way in terms of, like, I would like to keep him on this team. But realistically, it's almost going to be impossible to keep Chase, Montez, and Deron Payne on the team together because you're already paying Allen like 18 mil. Deron is going to be 21, 22 mil, I think. And then Sweat will be like 22, 24 mil. And then by the time Chase comes up, if he, is what we thought he would be, it's going to be like 25, 30 mil. And you just have 120 mil on your or not 120 mil, sorry, like 80 mil, 80+ mil on your defensive line. That's going to be hard. A lot of people are saying Chase Young's a bust in the chat. Some people aren't. I think it's a little bit too early to say that. I think obviously he's been underwhelming so far, but the first year he was a dog. He was a dog. He was really good in his first year, especially the second half of the year. And then last year, disappointing to start out the year, and then got hurt. So we have such a small sample size on him. That's why I want to see him play as many games as he can, and hopefully he's back. This week. Silly Goose says Schweitzer contract's higher than you might think. He made close to $6 million this year. Yeah, it was 2-year or 3-year deal? The Schweitzer, I think it was 3-year. Yeah, it was a 3-year deal. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how much it. I don't necessarily want to pay him $6 million a year, but I would pay him like a $2 to $3 million a year. It depends on if we're bringing him in to be the starter or the backup. But I think we do need a new guard. Like we need a new younger guard. And one thing, this is actually pretty interesting right here. Silly Goose says the way you could look to cut either Leno, Logan Thomas, or both and replace one or both in the draft. And that is I think Leno, I would rather keep Leno because, I mean, we did just re-sign him. And he has had some rough games, but I think for the most part, he's been solid. He's a good teammate. I would keep him. Logan Thomas, on the other hand, I know he's a former Hokie. Love the guy. Super nice guy. And he's had a couple good games, but like he has not been the same. And when it really changed for me was this past week against the Giants when he just totally whiffed on a block on I'm talking about in overtime, Curtis Samuel gets a 21-yard run. We're close to field goal range. Then we run with Brian Robinson for 1 or 2 yards. And everyone wants to blame Scott Turner. And yeah, he was part of the issue. But on second down, they design a run play. And Logan Thomas totally whiffs on the block. And Kayvon Thibodeau gets Brian Robinson in the backfield for a loss of 2. So if he makes that block, who knows? Maybe Brian Robinson gets 2-3 yards, and they're in field goal range. That's a 5-yard play, and they win that game. And then he also had the false start. I mean, you can't have that. You're a vet. Like, that just can't happen. He had the block in the back, which I didn't like the penalty at all, but still, that's another thing. So that is definitely something that they could do. Maybe restructure the deal or just cut him because he's not worth, what is it, around $8 million a year is what he's making. I'm sorry, but like we can find better tight end for a little bit cheaper probably, or just draft the guy. I just think that the tight end position is probably one of our weakest units, honestly, because I like John Bates. Like John Bates is the only guy that I'm like, okay, he is solidified on this team, in this room, not as a star, but just as a good blocker and a situational pass catcher. What do you guys think about the state of our tight end room and the possibility of moving on from Logan Thomas after this year, if he doesn't turn around?
I think with me, my bad, Juan. I'll be quick. Logan Thomas, I mean, I love the guy, like you said, Pedro, but just really hasn't been the same since that injury. And that Houston Texans game, he played awesome. I thought that was shades of like first year Logan Thomas, a little bit of second year, but really hasn't been the same. When we see guys like Armani Rogers, Cole Turner, who again was a lot of hype in training camp, hasn't really produced, only had that one catch against the Chicago Bears. And John Bates, a great blocking tight end, and had a passing touchdown. It's just it's frustrating, but I'm positive about it. And if we cut Logan Thomas, I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah, so for
Taco
me
Bell,
personally, I definitely agree with you guys talking about Logan Thomas being like a good guy, you know what I'm saying, and a great teammate, a great leader, great veteran in the locker room. But he definitely has not been the same. It's been due to injury and also just the lack of getting the tight ends involved. Because even when he wasn't out there, when it was Cole Turner, or we haven't seen Armani Rogers, I know he's been banged up, but even when he was healthy, we haven't seen much of him. We just don't get our tight ends involved enough. So it's definitely due part to both injuries and just the lack of opportunities. So I definitely wouldn't be opposed to moving on from Logan Thomas and upgrading the position, but it's like you already got 3 young tight ends on the roster. So, I mean, like our talent-wise is good. Like Logan Thomas, John Bates, Cole Turner, and obviously Armani Rogers, but we just don't do a good enough job. And that goes back to Scott Turner with getting our weapons involved. Because I think like we could have something with Amani Rogers. Like he could be the next coming of a Darren Waller type guy. Like you know what I'm saying? And we just don't use our tight ends enough. So yeah, like D just said, I miss Jordan Reed so much. Like honestly, if Jordan Reed never got hurt, he probably would have been the best, second best behind maybe Travis Kelce tight end for that time period. So I definitely miss the Jordan Reed, but imagine that kind of tight end in this offense. That would be amazing.
Yeah, Jordan Reed, man, that whole situation just makes me sad, man. Every time I think about it, I'm like, man, that guy not only was, his football career cut short, but also just like what those concussions might do to him later on, like in terms of his like head injuries, like that. It just sucks, but it is what it is, and hopefully everything's good with Jordan Reed. But yeah, he was a great guy, and he was so good for the Commanders. And I mean, just the route running and his toughness, man. You cannot question his toughness. Would always fight through the injuries, but yeah, I mean, Cole Turner. The thing is, Cole Turner. Someone says Cole Turner will be fine, guys. Like him, late picks often take a year or two. I agree with that. The thing is, man, when I was watching him in camp, I was like, man, this guy is gonna. I didn't think he was gonna be tight end one, but I was like, okay, this guy can do something. And then for some reason, they just had him out for like 5 games, and then or a few games, and then he came back. And the Tennessee Titans game, he played, and he was open. He was open, but every time went through to him, it was either batted down or he just did a bad throw. And then next week against the Bears, I think he had like 2 catches for 24 yards, and one of them was a nice catch. And after that, it really stopped. He had a concussion, I believe, but like he's got the talent, and who knows? Tight ends, like Silly Goose says, take a while to develop. So we'll see. He's an option, and maybe this is probably the ideal. This is the ideal scenario, really, for the Commanders. Bates is locked in. You bring back, I mean, Cole Turner is going to be back, and then you sign a cheap veteran, like a guy that has been solid for in the past, a Gerald Everett type, guy like that, that you can sign for relatively cheap and have those 3 guys play, see what Cole Turner looks like. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it right there. Let's read some comments. The guy who ended Reed's career, Niels, speared somebody. Yeah, the first play of the game, I don't know if it's the player time, but the first play of the game, he had a head-to-head hit against Brock Purdy. And let's go into the playoff scenarios. Like, who would you guys rather play in the playoffs? For me, give me the Vikings, bro. Like, give me the Vikings. The Vikings are going to be probably the number 2 seed. So, honestly, if we're the 7th seed, 7th seed versus 2 seed, I think we can win that game. I mean, we should have beaten the Vikings when we played them. If it wasn't for Ron Rivera's time management, John Ridgway's penalty, we could have won that game, and just Heineke throwing that back-breaking interception. Could have won that game, and it was very, very close. The 49ers, I don't care who's at quarterback. I don't want to play them. I do not want to play them at all. The Bucs, I'll take the Bucs. I know it's very, very unlikely we can play them because they're going to be the 4th seed if they win their division. So we would have to climb up on the Cowboys, and it's just not going to happen. So I do not want to play the 49ers. I do not want to play the 49ers. I want to play the Vikings. I think if we do get matched up against the Vikings, like I honestly may pick us to win that game. If it's the 49ers, we have a chance, but like they're playing well right now. It doesn't matter. They don't need an elite quarterback to win. We see that with Jimmy G, and Brock Purdy's playing well. And then I was going to say this earlier, but it just came out. Kyle Shanahan in his press conference said Debo's probably going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. So going to be out against us. Maybe he's out in the playoffs when we play them. But we'll start with Abdullah and then Juan in terms of your thoughts on who you want us to play.
For me, it's Minnesota. I mean, it all makes sense. Play Kirk Cousins, get another shot at him. I'm confident. I mean, that game in FedEx, like how the Taylor Heineke interception, clock management again, just not being able to do that. and get Chase Young back, maybe. And I just think Kirk Cousins in the playoffs, and we know it, he's just not a big time performer. So I'd say Minnesota #1. And after that, I mean, again, at San Francisco, I just don't want to play them at all. And obviously Tampa would be ideal, but they're going to play Dallas. Just don't think we can get ahead of Dallas. So yeah, I'd say Minnesota. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, and I definitely am going to finish it off with Minnesota. I've been saying that since the week we lost. I said if we get into the playoffs, I want Minnesota. Well, wild card weekend, because we can beat them. I don't care if it's in FedEx Field or in Minneapolis. We can beat the Minnesota Vikings. We should have beat them when we were up 10 in the fourth, but we let them get away with that. And every single game, and I'm not taking no credit away from the Vikings. You still got to win in the National Football League. But every single win that they had this season is a one-possession win. That's either them coming from behind or not knowing how to maintain a lead. And then today, they lost to the Lions. They are very beatable, and I want Minnesota. Now, I will say this about the 49ers. I don't want to play them either, but either way it goes, you're going to have to face them if you, in fact, you either – face them in a wild card weekend or you beat Minnesota and you advance, you're going to at some point have to face the 49ers if you want to make it far, right? So this narrative of I don't want to face them, I definitely get it. If you had to pick and had to choose between Minnesota or the 49ers, I want Minnesota. But their defense is amazing in San Francisco. But if they're going to be without their best player on offense with Deebo Samuel, he'll probably be back for that wild card game. More likely than not, since it's a high ankle sprain. So that definitely does scare me. But I look at it like this: if you give me 2 opportunities to face a team, I like our chances. Same thing that happened with Philly could happen again with the 49ers. Okay, let's just say we play the 49ers. Twice and we beat them the first time. You know what I'm saying? Who's saying we can't do it again? Or if we unfortunately, knock on wood here, lose the first time in the regular season and we still somehow get the 6th seed, or if we do still make it to the playoffs and eventually face them, who's to say that we can't beat them? Like, anybody in the NFC is capable of being beat, okay? So I'm not scared of nobody. I'm not scared of Tom Brady. I'm not scared of Dak Prescott. I'm not scared of the 49ers. Anybody can get beat by anybody in the NFC playoffs. So I definitely like our chances better against Minnesota and would much rather face Minnesota. But if we have to face the 49ers, let's lace them up, bro. We faced 2 times. That's going to be our second time facing them in the span of a month. So we know what they can do.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean, it all starts with winning this week, though, against the Giants. If we don't do that, it's going to be tough. And I just want to real quick, let's see if my computer is fast enough. It's very slow right now. I want to see what happens with our odds real quick if we beat the Giants, because the odds probably change a little bit now that the Giants lost this week and so did the Seahawks. So right now, we have a 73% chance of making the playoffs. Just right now, after today. And now, let me put us winning against the Commanders or against the Giants. If we win against the Giants, we have a 92%, or I guess 91% chance of making the playoffs. Like, that is crazy. And I don't think it's necessarily going to happen, but let's say we lose out after that. I just want to see, and I hope that doesn't happen. And I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, but I would like to see what our odds are after that, because I still think it's over 50%. But again, don't want to go into the playoffs with only 8 wins. Like, I just don't like that look. But let's say we lose against the 49ers, lose against the Browns, and lose against the Cowboys week 18. They have us at about a 55% chance of making the playoffs. So interesting there. And I think out of those last 3, if I had in terms of which games I think will be the easiest, I'll go Cowboys, Browns, and then the 49ers, just because I think the Cowboys, they're better than the Browns with Watson, but there's a solid shot they're resting starters that week. And I think if that happens, I think we have a higher chance of beating them versus the Browns. I'm not too scared of the Browns, but still not going to be an easy game. And the 49ers is going to be a tough game for sure. Yeah. So you guys' thoughts on that real quick, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would much rather us win this game versus the Giants and continue to control our own destiny or destination rather. But yeah, if we do in fact lose it, it's not completely dead, but it's like very unlikely. And yeah, y'all are right. Don't start the Lions, but I'll say this: all we have to do is win. Okay, the Giants. Let's the Lions have a better record than the division record than us. Yes, they beat us, but if we win, we don't have to worry about the Lions because they're catching up to us right now. So all we got to do is take care of business and win our games that's on our schedule. So literally, the key word is win.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Real quick before you go, Abdullah, one thing I want to say, hey, if the Lions win out and they get to 10 wins and we finish with 9 wins, hey, that is great. That puts us at 7th seed, and we'll go up against the Minnesota Vikings. Or more likely than not, we'll go up against the Minnesota Vikings. I am totally fine with that. Bring that on. I just like, for me, honestly, we make the playoffs. That's great. 6th or 7th seed. Like, I just rather play the Vikings than the 49ers. So just get in the playoffs. That's what you got to do first, and then you can worry about who you play. But yeah, really, guys, appreciate both of you for coming on again. Make sure you guys check out both channels. Link in the description. DMV Sports Zone posting, Commanders content, sometimes Hokies content. Hopefully next year, a little bit better football team. They got some transfers today, I saw. And then also, of course, Capitals, Nats, and everything there.
Yes.
You got Nati, Evan, and Noah, so make sure you guys check them out. And then Juan, of course, Juan Gotti talking sports, Commanders YouTuber. And then he's got Top of the Morning posting every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, talking all, everything. I mean, mostly Commanders, but, other sports as well. So both of you, we'll start with Juan, and then Abdul, you guys want to plug your stuff? I know I plugged a little bit, but just more in depth.
Yeah, definitely, man. I appreciate y'all for having me on. As always, it's great chopping it up with you all. You can check me out again at Juan Gotti Talking Sports. Is my channel, and you can subscribe there, and obviously check out the morning show that goes live on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, like Pedro said. And then Tuesday night at 7 p.m., I will be going live on my channel at Juan Gotti Talking Sports with Cameron Curl's father. So come with your questions ready. This is probably the closest thing we'll get to not being Cam Curl, and we'll see what he's thinking about with the team is at. How's Cam Curl been this season, and we'll talk a little bit of the possible contract extension that Cam Curl so rightfully deserves. So come out Tuesday night at 7 p.m. and thank you guys for having me, and hopefully we can get this win on Sunday versus the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, Juan said it, gotta get the W, but thanks again, Pedro. I think this is my first time on the channel. I don't know, but future collaborations to come. A great guy, and overall, just a great content creator in this community. So is Juan. But yeah, social media, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram at DMV Sports Zone. Try to get out as much Commanders content out there as possible. There's not a lot of fans out there, but these guys make it happen. And we gotta have that strong community, because once Dan sells, I'm telling you, the fans will start coming back and we'll have more trust in this team. Just gotta wait till that day. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I thank you guys for having me on, especially you, Pedro. And we gotta get this W Sunday. Nothing much else said.
Yep, for sure. Again, appreciate everyone in the chat. Brian, fans, there are Fat Tracks. Hi there, Andrew, Mark, everyone for coming through. Again, appreciate all you guys. Get me to 10K, and of course, subscribe to both of them as well. And going to be hopefully a good Sunday night game today against the Dolphins and the Chargers. So enjoy that, and let's get off to a good start of the week tomorrow. Peace, guys.